Tinkerbell film series. This is fan fiction. Ding, dun, 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 bum. Another Disney Elseworlds, but this time it's not a Frozen one, it's a Tinkerbell one. I can say my dad likes these movies. I always didn't really have a liking for these movies until I saw The Great Fairy Rescue. That Tinkerbell movie is one of my personal favorite of the Tinkerbell franchise, introducing Tinkerbell's first meeting with a human being before she met Wendy, Lizzie Griffins. A little girl in love with anything fairies. She always dreams about one day meeting a fairy and being friends with one. So why didn't we see Lizzie more in the Tinkerbell franchise? Probably it had to do with two reasons. Disney didn't want to possibly use Lizzie as a new character. Lizzie was not a character that I don't think Disney and the Disney Fairies team wanted to make a full-fledged new character. They did give her a mention in Secret of the Winds, the fourth film that I will leave unchanged. I want to keep that film the same to lead to Lizzie's return in the fifth Tinkerbell installment. I will be changing the Pirate Fairy, because I sort of have a problem with that Tinkerbell movie. The Pirate Fairy is the one Tinkerbell movie I change as we rewrite history. Ding! The new storylines. All right, what would the new storyline involve? Well, I'm giving it some thought, and I may have two ideas for a new story that my new version of Tinkerbell 5 could tackle. No, it's Tinkerbell 6 isn't the Pixie Hollow games. I'm thinking the Pixie Hollow games will just be as special as normal. The way for the Pirate Fairy can be Tinkerbell 5. But I want to change the Pirate Fairy. I'm not going to do the Pirate Fairy. We could do pirates in another Tinkerbell movie, but this one didn't work. So how would I put Lizzie into the rest of the Tinkerbell film series? Simple. Have Lizzie play a role in one of the movies. Lizzie's the first human to know of the fairies' existence. Possibly the Queen doesn't like that. The Queen always wanted fairies and humans to live separately because of their worries about fairies discovering Pixie Hollow. We'll say Tinkerbell 5 takes on a new meaning. Allow me to present Tinkerbell and the Great Human World Rescue. Now we can say this is actually a direct sequel to Tinkerbell and the Great Fairy Rescue. After the discovery of a human discovering Tink, this is when the Fairy Council takes action. Deciding now that humans have grown too smart and are now setting traps for fairies, now they have a problem. Humans have been capturing their kind for generations to lead them to treasure and other things. There was a pirate reference in Tinkerbell and the Lost Treasure. In that film, it was revealed that a pirate used a fairy to find a magical looking glass that can grant 3 wishes, anything their heart desires. But as we know, that ship crashed on an island north of Neverland. After that, there have been no instances of humans discovering Fairy Pixie Hollow's location. London is the fairy's target. Tink realizes Lizzie's in trouble and decides to rally her friends for a final to meet the Pixie Hollow army at London. Does this mean I make Queen Coralie, the Queen of the Fairies, the villain? No, I do not. I'm gonna make one of the advisors the villain. One of the fairies of the 4 seasons could be the villain, but I don't want it. Lizzie's father to me felt like a villain in Tinkerbell and the Great Fairy Rescue because he did feel like a bad guy. He felt like the type of guy you wanted to hate. Even though he was generally a good dad that just worked too much and had no time for Lizzie, leaving her with sitters and everything. Here's where I would introduce the Pirate Fairy, or the fairy that we met in Tinkerbell and a Pirate Fairy. Her role will be different. As she's basically an experimenter experimenting with effects of blue pixie dust. When she hears of the plan for pixies to invade the human world, here is where I would have her spring into action with Tink and her crew. Tink and her crew explains London's there. Second star to the right and straight on till morning. As the fairies fly off to London, we can say here's where we can bring back Lizzie. We can say that Lizzie's been waiting for the day that Tink would return. Because it turns out these two have not lost touch. Even though we may think time has passed, these two have not lost touch. They're basically still inseparable. When Tink explains what happened, this is where our new conflict can happen. Tink and her friends are basically on the side where humans and fairies can coexist, when the Fairy Council, on the other hand, to the Queen, are on the side where fairies and humans should remain separate, because one should stamp out the other. When Tink stops the Fairy Council from doing this is where we would get a different scene. One of the Fairy Council would ask if Tink is choosing to side with humans instead of her own kind. I think even Vidya would betray the Fairy Council, saying that Tink's right, humans and fairies can coexist. Even though she thought humans and fairies couldn't, Tink and Lizzie are living proof of that. Tink and Lizzie are living proof that humans and fairies can coexist peacefully, without this pointless bloodshed. The Fairy Council all calls Vidya a traitor, saying that she's a fairy, not siding. She shouldn't be siding with a human. She should be siding with her own kind. This is when Vidya explains that their definition of humans are bad and speciesist. Are bad and very speciesist. For years, the Fairy Council have been painting humans as evil, the worst of the worst. They have never painted them in a positive light. As Vidya explains that when she met Lizzie, she saw her in a positive light. Nothing like that the Fairy Council have been painting humans as for generations. Monsters. As Vidya explains, the Fairy Council are the monsters. We can say the final battle with the Fairy Council is fought by the Queen, who explains, Vidya has a point. I then hereby disband the Fairy Council. The Fairy Council are in shock of this and say that they're needed to keep the peace in Pixie Hollow. But then the Queen asks, is this what you call peace? Making fairies scared of humans? You're making them afraid. On the day Tinkerbell met Lizzie, my mind on humans was changed. Humans can be a positive light. Terrence, who's from behind her, say that when I met Lizzie, I saw her as a positive side to humanity. Humans and fairies deserve to coexist. Even Bobble and Clank explained that when they met Lizzie, they also saw her in a positive light. We can say that they have flashbacks to the Great Fairy Rescue when they met Lizzie, and they explained that we saw Lizzie in a positive light. We call Miss Lizzie an honorary tinker. Even though she doesn't have the green outfit and the wings. Bobble and Clank just hit each other. We can even say that the head foreman of the Tinker Fairies explains, yes, when Bobble and Clank told me about this human, I thought she was a positive side to humanity. Something the council never even Fairy Mary, Tink's boss, even explains that when she heard Tinkerbell met a positive human, she was interested in this, saying that all fairies deserve a chance, that humans are not something to be taken lightly. Fairy Council are basically fairy arrested for their crimes, as their talents are taken from them. Their talents are actually the talents of the original fairies that came before. Water, wind, animal, and others. They don't affect other fairies because they're basically stuck up fairies who just believe in the old ways instead of the new. As Queen Coralie explains that it's time for the new ways to begin, where we give humans a chance. Fairy Mary agrees, saying that humans should be given the benefit of the doubt. All right, here's where we run into one new movie problem. Legend of the Never Beast. I think that movie would remain the same. I don't think Lizzie will appear in that. But I removed the Pirate Fairy. What? Now, probably we're going to ask why. The Pirate Fairy is not a movie I like. It's not a direct sequel to The Great Fairy Rescue. Instead, it's... Secret of the Wings didn't feel also like a Tinkerbell The Great Fairy Rescue sequel, but I still call it a good movie enough to keep. The Pirate Fairy, I only took it out because I didn't see it as a sequel. I saw it more of a movie that serves as a nuisance than a movie. The movie doesn't even have tail and in the name. It just has the Pirate Fairy. So yeah, this has a movie that I can replace the Pirate Fairy with. Now, should I replace Legend of the Never Beast with a Lizzie movie? No. The Legend of the Never Beast is fine. We can even have a reference to Lizzie. Explain that Lizzie has been convincing humans that fairies are not bad. We can even say that Lizzie's father, Dr. Griffins, is also working hard after what his daughter told him to make humans and fairies trust each other more. This is where we could have a new setting for a new Tinkerbell idea. And I'm Lamont, and I'll see you guys next time.